So welcome back to another episode of The Fish Tank. I have a very unique guest today. We've got Nathan here. TraveVlogUpdate is his socials. He's flown all the way from Florida. Were you from Florida? Oregon?
Yeah. I live in Oregon, but I left Florida for this trip.
Straight to Karratha, which is like northwest Australia, middle of nowhere. Very, very remote. Probably one of the most expensive trips you could ever do. But he's come here to catch up with one of our good mates, Taj, to go fishing, crabbing, blue swimmer, mud crabs, and experience the Pilbara. So we've crossed paths a couple of days ago. He went out and had an awesome session on the fish yesterday.
Yeah.
But this podcast is mainly going to be based around his experiences traveling, which has been about 5 years.
Okay, I didn't know we were jumping into that.
Yeah, this is travel.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, 5 years. Before that, I bounced around Europe for a little, and then I've done Vanlife, which is a pretty big hype in the States. I don't know if it is here.
Massive.
But yeah, it's kind of dying off, though. But I've done that for about 5 years, and now I've got a little place in Oregon. I was trying to set roots, and then I got an invite to Karratha and decided to put my life on hold for another year. So here we are.
So what I want to kind of get your experiences on, bro, is about doing van life wherever you've traveled and the experiences from an American, because it'd be very different as an Australian and how you guys kind of go about setting it up, like getting a van, fitting it out, or just buying one, fitted out, where your kind of places that you look at to travel.
Okay.
Because in Australia, it's if you're going to do like van or four-wheel drive like us, it's kind of just like get the setup, we'll make it, and then do Australia. Yeah. Where you have a lot of different options of places that you might go.
Yep. All right. So, do you want to know how I got into van life,
yeah,
or
start
from the beginning?
Start.
It was right when COVID went down. I moved back home and I was working this job in a factory, just packing boxes, and then I met up with one of my friend's parents, who she helps people find jobs that are good fitting for them. And then she said there was this adventure therapy program where I could be a mountain guide in Utah, and it's 8 days on, 6 days off. And up until this point, I've had 2 vans. I thought I was going to do the van life thing forever. I built out a Westfalia camper van. That's an old Volkswagen. My dad and I put new motor in it, everything, and it would only go about 20 miles and then break down. So I was like, I give up on van life. I'm done. Never going to do this again. And then a Facebook Marketplace van, a G20, which is like the big ones that everyone used to go to Disneyland in, popped up super cheap. I bought it, I built it out, and then I sold it to go travel Europe. And then, this job popped up, and my dad had an old plumber van. And I was like, how about I build it out? Because he was going to build it out for my mom and him. He was getting ready to retire. I was like, how about I build it out, and then I kind of test it out and go do this job for a summer. And so him and I built out the van. I took off to Utah, over by a lot of the national parks are Zion, Moab, all those, the arches, and took off to Utah, and then worked 8 days on, 6 days off. And that's how I kind of fell into van life on accident. But yeah, after that, I was like, I can do this pretty easy now. Let's see where I want to go next. So that was the platform of me actually taking the step to live in a van. And of course, when I did that, everyone thought it was super cool. Around that time, they were like, that's sick, you live in a van. And I think that's how I accidentally kind of got my following, was just, I have this little jingle, TraveVlogUpdate, and then I just say whatever I'm doing. And I just plaster that saying everywhere. I annoy the snot out of people by saying it so much, but it kind of is what caught. And that's my name of my social media. I'm gonna try to start selling merch. It's the thing that accidentally kind of got me into being an influencer.
Yeah, that word. So
that word.
In the States, if you're going to cruise around in a van, are most people saving up for a couple of years and then taking a year off, or are they working as they travel around?
A lot of people ask me that, because having the following I do, a lot of people reach out, and I always advise people build your rig while having a job, save money before you go, because I guess it's like here, making money through social media, it's not easy. And people think that I make money, or especially more than what I make from it, and it's not like that either in the States. So
Nathan's clearing $1 million a week.
yeah, it's pretty nice. I think the most I've made is like $1,000 from a video, and then other than that, it's like Facebook was paying me $300 a month. So it's
He's killing it.
I was a trainee for a while, and that's how I've managed to stay in van life. A lot of people think that I do it full time, and I've lived in the van full time, but I've taken contracts where like I travel for a company for 3 months, or I do construction living out of my van for 6 months, and that's how I managed to keep the funds coming in. It's not through social media yet.
Yes.
Yet. Soon, Mr. Beast, I'll be like him. Want a new Tesla?
Yeah, literally.
But
So when you're gonna do, like, for people that don't know, explain where like Florida is on the map, and then where, if you're living in that part of America, where a normal trip would be, or where you'd start and go.
so you don't do van life in Florida, period. It's like Australia. It's very hot, very humid, but also people don't want you there. It's like the rednecks, the bogans of Florida are like, and then it's also old retired rich people, or not even rich people, old retired people. And so parking on the beach is a lot less accepted. So I have really never van life Florida, but on perspective, it's like Florida is the bottom right peninsula of the United States. I always spent most of my time on the other northwest side in Oregon, California, and then the middle west side. There's like BLM lands, which is the Bureau of Land Management, and you can just park there for 14 days. It's like that's in like Utah, in the woods in Oregon, the forest lands. The west side of America is a lot easier to do van life in. So my advice to like newer van lifers is save money, put in the effort to just like drive 25 hours westward. Even Colorado, it's a good central point where van life is more welcome. And so my advice is always like get out of the east and go west, because there's a lot more like leniency to parking overnight, camping somewhere. You don't have to pay at every place. And I've never paid, other than Mexico, I never paid for places to sleep. So that would always be my, like, Florida, I'm like, go northwest and you'll enjoy van life a lot more out there. And you'll find better community. I feel like the van lifers that I know who do van life in Florida, it's a lot harder to find community, but now they're finally doing like van meetups to try to, the few that are down there, they're trying to connect. So that's one cool thing that's, I guess, happening towards the East Coast.
So I got a basic overview of the places that you're going. Another big question we always get asked and people are interested in is like, how much money would you recommend someone saves to do, say, the West Coast of America? Or even just that area you were talking about, and how much time you'd recommend for them to allow to travel it well, not just drop in for a day, do a hike in a mountain and bugger off.
There is so much to see in America. Like, that's one of the most amazing parts of it is you can hit, and I need to get to your question of like how much and how long, but just to explain it is you can start in California, bottom part of California, and you can hit California, bounce into Vegas, and there's tons of rock climbing around Vegas, and then you can bounce to the west again, and you can hit San Francisco, and there's beautiful spots all up and down the west side, all of America, but the west side of the road trip, you could just go one park after another mountain view after a hike, and the beaches there are so beautiful too. Like, it's mountains into the water, and then even the more north you go, it's giant trees into the beach to like rocky beaches. So I've done the coast. It's the one, and it's the road that runs up and down the west side of America, and that's one of the prettiest drives I've ever done in my life. It's getting harder to do because they want to sell you camping spots, but as a breakdown of finances of me and the van, I don't drink because it costs money, and I cook a lot. I don't eat out. So there was a time when I was living off of like $1,200 US a month, pretty easy. Like, And there were times when I was in San Diego, just like there, and spending $800 a month because I'm just in my little loop, like hanging out at the beach, parking somewhere, hanging out with friends, just kind of like a smaller loop. But when you're traveling, of course, the biggest expense for van life is the fuel. And so it depends on how fast you're moving. But I would say if you wanted to do a good road trip up and down the West Coast, or top to bottom, bottom to top, a month, I think you could see a ton in a month, and it would probably cost like $3,000-$4,000 if you have a rig, because you would be doing a lot of driving. But also, like, if you extend it and slow down, I don't know. It all depends on how. It's hard because it's like, what's your lifestyle look like? How hard are you going to travel? How fast are you going to move? How long are you going to stay at one spot? Do you have accommodations? Like me, through social media, I can be like, can I park in someone's parking lot in Big Sur? And I can. I'll usually find someone who's like, yeah, you can park here. Saves me from spending $50 on a campsite. So, yeah, that's a hard question, because for me, I can do it for probably $1,500. But for other people, it could maybe 2,000 to upwards, depending on their lifestyle. But
So how big is the distance that you're talking about?
boy, I would
Just
say
in a straight line.
in a straight line from bottom of San Diego to top of Washington would probably be like 25 hours
Yeah.
straight up. That would be the 5. But when you're going up the coastal road, it takes a lot longer. But yeah, it's a big distance.
Yeah.
And the element or the environment changes a lot, like the ocean, the desert, it's really cool.
So the national parks and all that, like they're the main things you're probably saying, besides the beaches and that. Do you have to pay to visit them over there?
Yeah, you can get a parks pass, which I think is like $50, and then you can go to all the parks. If not, it's like $20 a day to get a day pass. But yeah, in like Yosemite's gorgeous. You got to go in there for sure. It's just out of this world. You like roll up to it, and it's like there's this one spot where you drive through a tunnel. You see like the giant rock face, and you're like,
Yeah, I was saying that.
yeah, that's like the most
Yeah.
the most recorded video. And
Yeah.
the
It's
first
just like
time,
it's dark and then it just like blows.
yeah, the first time I went through that, it was snowing too, and it was just like, what?
Sick.
But yeah,
What's the hardest part about being on the road in America?
in America or just being on the road?
America. Like you're scared of like I know when you're traveling it's not as dangerous as if you're like in a city and that, but like you're
Right.
worried about like theft or crime or like dodgy kind of like characters.
You've got to be aware of it, but it's like anywhere. It's like if you're parked somewhere and you're like, this is a little sketchy, will I be fine? You know, you gotta understand where you are, like your escape route, kind of stuff like that. But for the most part, the only time it's like been in cities for me where I've never even gotten a ticket or a knock, which is crazy because so many of my van life friends have. But I've had fights go on the outside of my van where I'm just like sleeping, and then the next thing you know, I like open my little slidey window and there's like 20 people there. I'm like, oh, this is crazy. And I've called the cops and been like, hey, there's a fight going on, and the cops come and they all run, and it's like it's usually just like kids, or it's like anywhere. It's like people park on the beach and drink and then they get loud.
Yeah.
You're like, ah. But
You're like, do you think they know I'm in here?
yeah, well, no, they know you're in there. You're just like, don't move. But yeah, I have not had, knock on wood, many bad experiences, but with the van life or the dodgy characters, thankfully. But the hardest part of van life, this is what I tell everyone, and some random person will be like so excited, they'll DM me, I'm like, I'm getting on the road, I'm saved for this is my van. They send me pictures of the van, and they're like, do you have any advice? And I always say, there are high highs and low lows in van life, because I go to these like van meetups where you roll in and it's like everyone has their rigs out, they have their spreads, they have, their awnings out, you're just chatting it up, you're meeting everyone. It's just like utopia. You're just like, yeah, this is amazing. And then like the event's over and everyone leaves and you're just like in your van driving somewhere, you don't know where you're gonna sleep, and you're just completely alone. And that is like the hardest part for me, is this these highs that are just like, oh, this feels like heaven. Like I never want this to end, to entering seasons where you're in a new place, all alone, you don't know anyone around you, you're just like experiencing life completely isolated. And then you have like your next event and there's like this climb of like, oh yeah, I love van life. And then it goes to like, what the heck am I doing with life? I don't have a job. I don't have an income. I'm 30 years old. Like, what the heck am I doing? And then you go to a different event and it's like, I know everyone now. I know my friends are there and you have this community and you're like, yeah. So what I've tried to do is I try to create caravans when we do go to these events and be like, where do you want to go next? And that's actually the first time I went down to Baja. I was at an event and someone invited me. They're like, hey, we're going to go to Baja for 2 months. You want to come? And I'm like, this for another 2 months? Like, hell yeah. And so I've learned to try to like travel with people at least towards the same vicinity. And that helps you feel like you have community longer. Because I think community is the thing that, at least me, that's the thing that I desire most in like life right now is like, good people, cool shit. And when you're alone, it gets hard, or it gets hard for me. But yeah.
Nice. So how much? So you're saying it's relatively cheap by the sounds of it to do.
Yeah, you can do it cheap.
What's the cost of fuel over there?
Trigger question. Right now, who knows? When I left, well, we do gallons, not ounces of kangaroo piss or whatever y'all do. We do. So gallons I have a diesel van and it gets 20 miles per gallon, which is good for most vans. And then diesel will be anywhere between like 350 to 550. And then if you're in California, that's when it gets sometimes crazy. It gets up there. But for the most part, I would say average is like $4 a gallon.
I'm just converting it.
Yeah, you should. For you
Because
guys.
no one will know.
You don't like because they won't do it. Yeah.
All right, so it's about 11.76 liters per 100. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that like for us. That's what my car does.
Yeah.
When I'm not towing and there's not much in it.
Yep. You have diesel, right?
Yeah, diesel.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and others get like 10, 12 miles per gallon, which is like almost half of that. And then I have friends who have like school buses. They've converted school buses. And they're doing the Baja loop, which is like 20 hours down, 20 hours up.
Yeah.
And you're like, you are spending significantly more than me.
And how much is a gallon?
A gallon in Baja was about $5 a gallon.
All right.
So it was more expensive down there. But in the States, yeah, you can get it anywhere from like $3.75 to $6. Like here, it fluctuates.
So a gallon is 3.785 liters. So it's about $1.20 to $1.50 a liter, roughly.
Yeah.
We're here, we're currently paying $3.50 a liter. So it's like 3 times the price here.
Yeah. God bless
So
the
thanks
people
for that.
road trip in Australia right now. Yeah.
True. So how much could you, like, say I flew over there, I'm like, sweet, I want to do the trip that you've done. I just want to buy a van that's set up because I don't have the time to do it.
Yeah.
What am I looking at spending on like a basic kind of setup?
Basic. Okay, so that's so hard. Like, do you mean like a rig like yours, kind of, with a bed and a refrigerator?
Nah,
or
like a van.
Like you can stand in. I would say,
like a Sprinter.
honestly, prices of vans are getting really good. Like, because van life is kind of dying out, it feels like, or at least the new wave hasn't picked it up yet.
Because of fuel.
Yeah, probably. And yeah, but I know rigs used like DIY. Like I have friends who build, their whole job is to build out vans and sell them. But I would say to get one that someone's already used and is kind of on the medium, which is kind of a medium, I would say like $30,000 to $40,000.
Decent one.
Yeah, one you can.
US.
Yeah, you can go live in and do fine. But then again, there's also some that are like $230,000.
Yeah, crazy.
Or mine, I would say my van, I have a lot more invested in it because of breakdowns, but it's probably like a $25,000 build that I've done so far. So I got it for $13,000. I put like $5,000 into it for the build out, which me and my dad did by myself, and his name is Smokey. He has been the best van, other than fuel injectors and fuel problems. That's why his name's Smokey, because he puts out a lot of soot. Not so much anymore. We fixed that, but $5,000 fixed that. But yeah, so originally I'm one of the cheaper vans there, but I have a 2003 Dodge Sprinter, and they're like retro Sprinters, diesel, no DEF, 5-cylinder, Mercedes engine, Dodge Ram chassis. It's kind of bare bones, but they're considered the million-mile van because the diesel. So
Yeah, just keep going.
yeah, and so but the maintenance is what's expensive, and I've even gone places where like I'm having little hiccups with him, and thankfully there's not a lot of electronics in it. So even when something does like right now, I have my fifth fuel injector is leaking, so like fuel comes out of the top of the engine. You shouldn't be able to keep going, but I drove literally down to Mexico and back to Oregon. So it was like, yeah, probably 50, 60 hours of driving on it. And it's like, he's still cooking. So it's like, every time I start. And another thing, when I start him now, like, it's bad. But the fuel lines don't hold pressure because there's a leak. So you have to like crank and then stop and crank. And he starts the third time every time. So it's like...
Third time.
But yeah, when I'm traveling with people who are like, in these like nice rigs and I'm just like over there like, yeah, he'll start, just give it some time. I have like the older van, the junky one on the road. And I don't mind. I like it because a lot of my friends, and to each their own, I've got like deer antlers, like gator heads, like... hog jaws on the side of my spice cabinet. Like I've got a raccoon head and a coyote head. Like it's my backsplash is like tin roofing with magnet board. I have like an Edison light bulb. It's just like, it's very like Florida cabin vibe. Like you're in a hunting cabin here. I just want everyone to know where I'm from, especially out west. Anyways, but I like having a rig like that. Like the front of my van's kind of like peeling, and I spray painted the black so it wasn't like exposed metal. It's nice kind of having a van like that because in Mexico I'm not a big target. Like a lot of these places, I've learned if you're like the sketchier person in the van, you don't get messed with. Where it's my friends who have the, payments on a $200,000 rig, they get a lot of people snooping or like they get stuff stolen off of it. Where like me, I think they see my rig and they're like, I ain't touching that. Like I've got like tassels hanging, like the Mexican beads, there's a lot of character to the whole smoke show. But
we'll put some photos and videos of it up on this.
I
haven't even seen it.
Yeah, I don't even think I have any videos. So I'll have to screenshot little videos of me in it. But yeah, that's like my rig. And that setup, to answer your question, is like I'm in at like $25,000, and that's way cheaper. But I think you could easily find one like a cheaper end of it, 20,000. Medium would be like 40, and then anything above like 50, you're gonna get a decent rig, probably 4 years older or 4 years old, and it'll probably be like a Dodge Ram, the newer ones. But yeah.
So the next thing, you guys have overlanding, like that's what you call it, though.
Yes.
So like our setup is a 4-wheel drive that we live out of. We tow a boat.
Yep.
From what you're kind of describing, it's more vans, big vans. I know you get them in
Yep.
or motorhomes.
Yep.
Are there many setups kind of like in Australia, like your troop carriers or your Land Cruisers and that?
No, we don't have Toyotas. I hate that way. I would have a Toyota in a heartbeat.
What about Tundras?
Those kind of suck. But the Hiluxes you guys have, like the diesel Toyotas, and even your old Land Cruisers. My friend has one, and it's a left-hand drive, or no, right-hand drive. That's what you guys do here, and it's the coolest rig in all of Oregon. Like, and it's the pop-up one, like that you would have here, and I want one of those so badly. Like, she is completely badass for having that, and you can't get them. Like, you have to import them. And those are like the more reliable ones, like the diesel Toyotas. Me and my dad, we love the Hiluxes, and we've looked to import one, and
Too much.
you can't, like illegally, you can't, not yet. But that's why we have the Tacomas and the other ones. But pretty much anyone in America would rather what you guys have here.
It's like
all
the
day
same
long.
for us. Hey, like, well, obviously we love Toyotas, but
Yeah.
the ones we can't have, like the Tacomas or like the big Rams, like back, I'd say even like 10 years ago, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the opinions of Aussies were like, why the fuck do Americans have these massive utes? Like, that's stupid. And then when you put the small wheels on them, everyone's like, that's so like shit.
Yeah.
And then now everyone has a Ram or
Yep.
like a Silverado on that.
Yeah, I've seen some Silverados, and they are huge on the road.
Massive, yeah.
That's what we grew up in. My dad had a Silverado, and it was lifted a little, but we had like mud buggies we had to pull and tractors, and so we needed the bigger trailers and trucks.
And that, like, I'm still of the opinion, like, you know, if you're towing something big, mad. But like where we live now, there's a lot of money. It's blue collar town. A lot of people just have these massive utes as like their daily, which is still cool, but yeah, a bit overkill.
Yeah, I mean, if you can afford it.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing.
I would.
I'm just jealous.
Really?
Oh yeah, that's
what
kind
we're
of
saying.
why
Is,
you spent money. I'm just jealous.
once I start making money on social media, I will have one of those. Daily driver, the 10 miles an hour. But that's why we like the diesel ones. So I don't know if you guys don't have it here, but we have DEF in America, which is like to cut down on the carbon footprint. And when you fill up your diesels, you have to put this like blue bubble stuff in.
We've got that.
Oh, it's so dumb.
And
it
blue,
like
yeah,
and it just takes away like the efficiency of a diesel engine. You're adding more plastic because of all the containers, and we're like America's finally starting to, I think, see that and like step back from having to have DEF, because it makes the motors more, like the diesels, more inefficient. So we like motors without DEF.
Bring back the sort.
Yeah, well, you're gonna create it in a different way, but I feel like you can run a diesel pretty efficiently now, unless you're like one of the redneck boys who just like love blowing. We call it blowing coal, where they're just like, and they're like smokes. It looks like a train going down the road, and you're like, more power.
Respect.
You just killed a lot of birds. No.
So there's not many four-wheel drive traveling setups going.
No, there's a ton.
Oh, righto.
So overlanding, we actually have it's a great question, and now I'm more educated on it now. We have this thing called Overlanding Expo, and I would say there's been a trend, almost a shift from van life to overlanding, and a lot more people are starting to do that. I went to the Overland Expo, and I was just talking to people, and I was asking questions, and I was like, what's the difference between, well, another thing, overlanders in the States, they have like a chip on their shoulder. They're like, you're a van lifer? I'm an overlander. Like, oh yeah. But the cool ones that I met, I would ask like, hey, what's the difference between van life and overlanding? And the ones who were honest about it, they're like, we spend a lot more money to go a little bit further than you to see places that you could walk to, or just camp at places you could walk to. I was like, that's a good way to put it. I know I've put my van through the ringer getting places where it shouldn't have gone, because I was following like Tacomas jacked up.
Is yours four-wheel drive?
No, it's just two-wheel drive in the back, but with enough speed, you can get up stuff. I've had shelves falling down. You're like, I should have done that. I don't do that anymore. That was my younger van lifer days. But I pushed that van like a 4X, but it's not. I would deflate the tires and just send it. But overlanding, I went to this Overland Expo, and it's becoming a thing, and you can get all like the roof racks, but it's Toyota Tacomas. Even people are starting to lift like Class C RVs, I've seen, and that's like, you see one of those driving down the road and you're like, like it's crazy how big they are. And then I have two friends who have Unimogs. They are also on social media, but they're great dudes, and they're getting ready to do the Pan American Highway, which is from Alaska all the way down to Chile.
Sick.
And so they built out these old military rigs, and they're like, motorcycles are on like lifts going on the front of their thing. They're decking them out right now, and they're amazing dudes, and I love following their journey. But their rigs are as big as this room.
It's there's a
cool.
few Unimogs in Aussie. Going around.
And I think that's even becoming not a thing, because of how it's like you have to become like a master at that trade to get into it, or you have to have a ton of money. And they're like a master at it. They're like welding frames and getting everything just right. And they also do social media and make money off social media. But that if I won the lottery, I would get one of
They're
those
sick.
Unimogs and
Yeah.
do that road trip, because I've driven in them and I've rode dirt bikes next to them, and they're going on things that I go on with my dirt bike, but up these hills in a house, and it's like,
Right.
dang, son. But I overlanding, we definitely have that, and it's becoming a thing. But it just costs a lot of. It's just like here, but I would say your average setup here is an overlander, and then you see a van lifer. Where I would say in the States, you see van lifers, and then you see overlanders. Like, that's the shift. Like, you would see a lot more vans in a parking lot, and then one van like jacked up with good wheels on it, and then yeah, it'd be like one of 10, where here it's like you'd see 10 utes in one van. You know what I mean? But you guys need it more here. But yeah, there is a shift. And I think another reason it's pushed in, like, the people are loving overlanding is because you can go on forestry roads. You can get further away from that, like, van life hype of everyone parking on the beach and it just being, like, hectic. You can pull away and go camping and further in nature, because there's so many cool nature spots in the United States. So I get the hype. I do. Like, if you're going to use it. But, of course, a lot of people just have the rigs to have them.
That's cool as well.
Yeah. Like, how often do you actually get those rims dirty? And
Yeah.
like, I go once every 2 months. And you're like, I live in this thing full time,
Yeah.
But that is also a weird thing of living in the van, is where I live in Oregon, very wealthy. A lot of, like, retired people have these $200,000 vans, and they go spend a weekend in it. And when I was living in it full time, it was like, I'm in this beater of a shit box, and we're like camping, and they roll up, and they get out and they pull out their lawn chairs and
Bottle of Maui.
Yeah, and it's just like, you want to be like, like, you guys suck. But in another way, I'm like always excited to see people camping and experiencing
at least they're doing
outdoors.
it.
And like, especially like, my dad just retired and he has a nicer rig now. And my community of dirtbags have like accepted him and his nicer rig. And it's like, he's put in 35 years of work to get there. Like, I think a lot of van lifers were bonded by the suck, just of like the breakdowns, the struggle of it. Like, that's what we bond off of. And so when a new person like rolls up in their brand new rig, you're like, you haven't experienced the true van. Like twitching. I always say I am the most.
This is so easy.
I'm the most anti-van lifer. That's like what I tell people all the time. Like, so many people are like, oh, I want to travel. I'm like, don't buy a van, go travel. And they're like, what? What do you mean? Like, you're a van lifer. I'm like, if you just want to go see a national park, if you just want to, like, go get an Airbnb, go on a hike. Like, so many people think that, and I understand, like, pulling away from a lifestyle to embrace a new one is so exciting and fun. But there's a lot of people who just want some sort of sense of adventure, and they think that they have to do it through working to buy a, ute or a van. And it's like, no, just like,
Just go.
Go. I started in the back of my car. I did a whole road trip of America after I graduated college on an air mattress and a box full of like food. And I'm like, go do that for a week, you know? And
or hire one.
Yeah, exactly.
See if you actually like it.
See if you like it, because it's a hard lifestyle. Like, it's a hard lifestyle. It takes a toll on you, but it's like anything. Everything has its hard. Like, working a 9 to 5 has its hard. Living in a van has its hard. It's just, what kind of hard do you want to choose? And so that's what I try to tell the newbies. I'm like, it'll get hard, but you just got to know your why and why you're doing it.
Yeah, it's still awesome.
Yeah.
Like, a bad day doing that is still better than being at work.
I don't know. Maybe. It can be at times, but making money is nice.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the difference in me, is like, I work to make money so I can do it.
Yeah.
Rather than just like stuck in this.
Yeah, you have something to look forward to.
Exactly.
Yeah, I say that all the time. Like, if you don't have something to look forward to, like, you need to create that something. Whether it's just like catching up with mates for dinner, or you got a holiday coming up. Like, when I'm working and I've got nothing to look forward to, which is kind of at the moment, I'm like, fuck me, this is so shit. So I'm like looking to create a fun adventure.
Yeah, I'm the same way. And I think that's something that's hard though, is like, I've talked to a lot of travelers, and I look at people who are completely content working a 9 to 5, having a family, being in their hometown. And I used to be like, oh, you got to get out. You got to. And I think the older I get, there's like a bit of envy for that.
Bro,
And I'm like,
I talk about this all the time.
oh, really? Where I'm
Yeah,
like,
so because I'm like, yeah, I'll let you finish. Sorry to cut you off, but I'm
No.
like, you fucking need to experience. Like, I get angry at them. I was like, you don't know what you're doing. Like, where I grew up, I don't love it. So
Yeah.
going back home, it's like see a few mates, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, you haven't experienced the world. You haven't done this. You haven't done that. All the things I love.
Yeah.
I'm like projecting it onto them. I'm like, you need to travel. You need to like experience these things. Get out. Get a new job. Blah blah blah. Where I'm like constantly chasing like this dopamine hit, and I'm probably not 100% happy, even though I'm having an awesome time.
No, I know.
Where they
They're
are
like,
happy.
their life is like, it's so crazy. I totally agree. Like the projecting, and that's where I've stepped back, where I've like seen friends who have built these wonderful lifestyles that were like, you know, I first you're like, this is wrong, you gotta go. And then you're like, they've just kind of like had this like steady incline of like building a family, like getting a house, doing it together with someone, like da da da. And you're like, my life is just like, when I'm working, I'm like, I hate this, I need to go travel. And I'm like looking up tickets to Australia, messaging Taj like, hey, can I really come out there? Like there is that constant almost like chase where you're like, and then the more you see, there's like this need to go see more. And it's like, gosh, like, when am I going to be like, oh, that was fun? Like,
Yeah.
part of this trip this year was like, oh, my goal was to get to New Zealand and Australia before I was 31. And that was my goal. And it's like, okay, I thought it was going to be like, all right, check that off the box. And now I'm like, I love this place. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to come back every year. And you're like, oh, there's that. Oh, what's next? Oh, what's next?
Yeah.
And that's what's hard is I'm going to get home. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to try to do what everyone else can do. And I'm going to be miserable. And then it's like this weird cycle of just constant, like.
I wouldn't change it though.
It's
Like
for me.
Yeah, it's for me. 100%.
It's fitting.
I cannot sit still at all.
Yeah.
I'm not good at it.
I always say like it's kind of the cards I was dealt, and I'm making the best of it.
It's our type of autism, hey?
Yeah, and I think I would have done it different. Like I thought I was gonna get married young, and like if I was presented with like a great relationship when I was younger, like I would have been married, but that didn't happen. So what you just like, I think humans are crazy resilient, and you just do the next thing. You gotta go through life. Like life is short, it happens fast, and it's like you just gotta go through life and you make it beautiful. And it's the people who like get so caught up on the past or like, oh, I wish I had a relationship, or I should be doing this or that. I'm like, no, like live, take a step, and see if it's the right step. Like I always say, a wrong decision is closer to a right decision than no decision. And so that's kind of the thing that pushes me to not be like paralyzed by the pursuit of perfection, because that's where I get sometimes.
Action's better than inaction.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Fall 10 times, step up once.
Yeah.
I think now that I'm a bit older and not so stupid, if they are happy, jealous isn't the right word. I am happy that they're happy,
right,
and I envy it. Yeah,
yeah.
Envy is probably a good like describer of that. But I know 100% that most of them aren't really happy.
Well,
they are content, but they're probably looking at things of going like, fuck, I wish I did this.
That might be your perspective. Yeah, sometimes. There are chances where like...
There's people that are 100% happy.
Yes.
And they're the ones I envy, but there's the ones that like...
But I don't think you're ever 100% happy.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, I think it
yesterday,
is...
Yesterday, though. Pretty happy yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday, 100% happy that day. But then when I went to bed, I'm like, dang it, it's over. I think, it's like that percentage of like how much of your life are you actually enjoying. And I do see people who you do look at and you're like, bro, you hate every aspect of your life. You're the one who needs to like change where you live, change your job, go on an adventure, like see the beauty again. Because I think there are a lot of people who just get so stuck in that complacency. And those really aren't the people I'm talking about when I'm like, oh, I see your life, you're building it, I'm envious of it.
You just go back home, see them playing with their kids, they're a good dad, and they're like happy.
You're doing it. Yeah. And like even other friends who, it's also so easy to look at others people's lives and like you said, they're really not happy or they're really not. But also that's why I try to be super vulnerable on social media and like tell people like, oh no, van life sucks. Like there's times where it sucks, or like what I'm doing, it sucks. Like even this Australia experience, I think it's been the best 3 weeks of my life. But people don't understand like the aftermath of it is like that completely riding on a high for 3 weeks and then just like dropping off into the unknown, like having community and then feeling like you are in the wrong place and you found your place, but it's not your place. And like people don't understand that until they've been there. And that low, I wouldn't say it's a low. I guess it is, but like that feeling, it's a heavy one. And it's not built for everyone because it's hard, like navigating it and understanding it. But I also do think the more you do it, the more you understand, like, all right, like after this stint of travel for me, I know I'm going to have to go and work. And I'm going to be one of those people who have I mean, I've done 5 to 5s, not 9 to 5s. But in that, I know that there's going to be another high. And the more that you do that, we're like, oh, I have to ride this low because I know there's going to be another high. It's like kind of where you are right now. You're like holding on.
I'm in the low.
Yeah, you're like in that weird season of like, what's next? Like, and like me, it's like, what's next? Who's next? Where's next? And I've tried to build a place in Oregon that I can go back to, but yet, like, I'm renting a place and like, but yet my family's in Florida and like even home right now, it's like, I don't even feel like I have like a proper home. But right now, Australia feels like it. But in a week, it's going to be like, oh shoot, all those thoughts, all that anxiety, all that stuff that I've dwelled on that makes my life feel heavy. Even the finances were like, oh my gosh, like I got to book a $900 ticket to get out of here. Like I got to book a 12, maybe, gosh, now like $1,800 ticket just to go home. And do I go home to Florida or do I go back to Oregon? Like that's the part of like social media that people don't see. You know what I mean? They see Nathan in Australia slaying fish and having like great community. They don't see me like in a hostel, like just laying in bed thinking like, gosh, what's next? And I think that's what's hard is when you have done the traveling like we do, so many doors are open. Like you can go through all these different doors and there are so many options, but sometimes that's like the hard part of it, at least for me.
Interesting perspective, bro.
Yeah.
I guess mine's a bit different because I'm always with Em.
Yes.
So, well, except now she's at work. But yeah, if you've got someone, it probably, you know, like even if you're like feeling a bit shit, they can be like, come on, let's go do something. But yeah, I haven't done much solo travel. My solo travel is like me going out fishing on my own. Yeah. So that's fun, you know. Or like if I've gone like to a city like for something, I wouldn't call that solo traveling. So I haven't had that like experience you're saying where you're like having a good time with mates and then they all go and then you're like, fuck, what's next? Which in its way is also a positive, I reckon.
Wow. Go ahead. How?
You know, like, because you're like, it sounds like you're being like, oh, I'm sitting there, it's crap. It's like, yeah, but you also get to start planning the next thing.
Yeah, but I've done it alone for like a long time. I've been single majority of my life. I've only had like a few serious relationships and then I don't get with people just for flings typically. And it's like, so I think for me it's weird because I used to save before I started traveling. Like my hope was to like save so I could travel with someone, and I've learned that that's not coming. So I just got to do it myself. And I think having a partner would create like a security, even in the like situations where, you know, everything is up in the air, but at least your partner is like secure. And I feel like I traveled. That's how I met Desi and Tosh. I was traveling with my ex in Europe, and it is such a different form of travel when you travel with someone. I love it. It's like you're not making every decision. You're communicating. You have like even safety in a hostel, of like not like physical safety, but like the emotional like connection that I crave. But it's just like I guess I haven't found anyone who like can keep up. If that makes sense.
Need a wild Aussie girl, man.
No, I don't need wild. I'm like a very traditional man, like traditional values, but yet I live a very untraditional lifestyle, and I think that's why it's so hard for me to be like, yeah, I live by all this like this moral code, and I've always lived by this, but yet I could flip a coin and end up wherever, and that's the weird thing. And like, I feel like wild Aussie girl, no,
Yeah, well, you can-
somewhat grounded Aussie girl.
Adventurous.
Yeah, adventurous in certain ways.
But you'll see, like, where we're living now, so we're in the Pilbara, it's work, fish, desert.
Yeah.
It's a long way to get to anything. So, like, the people up here have either moved up here for work or the lifestyle. But, like, the lifestyle is you're outdoors all the time. You've got a four-wheel drive. You have a boat. You're going camping.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. So, like, that in its way, like, a lot of blokes love that stuff, but, like, a lot more girls are getting interested in it, and that makes them, you know, more adventurous. And I'd say wild.
Yeah.
Like, when girls are like, yeah, I'm just going to go camping on my own, out, you know, by some water hole, and then go fishing the next day, like, sick.
You want to get married?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I find it like just even finding someone who's down to do that stuff is very odd. But also, like, you guys are at a spot where that's normal. That's not normal where I live. Like,
Yeah. Also, a lot of other places in Australia. It's
you
not,
show
yeah.
a video of you like holding a fish where I live, and people are like, "Fuck you!" Protect in the water. You're the problem with America. Like, I was having fun, okay, until now. No, I live in Oregon. It's a little bit more like that. Florida, not like that. But yeah, I've just been pulled to like the mountains and forest in that season in America.
Usually the first question I ask on this, which I didn't ask yet, but I'm sure we've got one, is what's your wildest fishing story?
Boy, honestly, gosh,
This podcast is like, it's fishing, traveling, camping, all that kind of stuff. But most of the people
not
are
relationship.
fishing.
My bad.
Nah, it's good. I want everyone on here to talk about all different kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's usually how I started off, but I just forgot to ask it. So
Wildest fishing story.
it could be like one of mates told you that like you've overheard, or something has happened to you personally, like something crazy. But if you got a good American one, that'd be.
I think one of my favorite ones to this day, the one that pops in, I've had a lot of cool fishing experiences, but it was younger. Like, it was 18 before, pretty much. And so what I'm really appreciative of this trip is, gosh, the Pilbara, just like all of that. Taj asked me the other day, he's like, are these fishing stories you'll talk about forever? I'm like, 100%.
Yeah,
like,
sick.
we were just like slinging the cobia and like gaffing, laughing, having fun. And then yesterday was
Shooting more.
I'm scared of the ocean, but now I'm in there just slaying the morlong, and they taste good. I don't care what anyone else says. Morlong, Florida pass. But yeah, so I have a lot from this trip, but the one that pops out the most is probably when I was younger. I was probably 14, 15. Medium tackle. We were fishing for Spanish mackerel, we were just trolling.
You call them kingfish, don't you?
No, we have Spanish mackerel and kingfish. But the ones that
Black kingfish or something over there?
I don't know, king mackerel we call them.
Oh, king mackerel.
But but the Spanish mackerel are the ones with the dots, and they tend to be like that big, where king mackerel get huge. And so we were just trolling for that, and the line just. And I'm on like a medium tackle, and I'm sitting in the front, like it's just a Florida Flats boat. So I'm just sitting down, feet here, just fighting this thing, and it's spooling me. And the captain was like tying down the drag, and he was like, "What the heck did we get?" And so he's on this like small flats boat, and we're in the ocean, and so the fish ran to the beach, and so we're just chasing it, and I'm just cranking. And there's at that time where like I wouldn't let anyone touch that rod, like I was gonna land this fish, and then it turned up, and we're just fighting. And it was probably like a 40 to 50 minute fight.
Yeah, right.
And it was just a Jack Carvel. You don't eat those, but it was like, it was that long, and like they're tall, so when they push, they just push a lot. And it was the biggest fight I've ever had in my life, and it was younger, so it was just like
Cool memory.
Yeah, it was like a core memory. But one of my top fishing stories while being here in Australia was without a doubt. Well, there's two. The first one was Taj and I went out, and the whole time he was like, "No, I'll get you on the fish. We went out with the ladies, and we're like throwing some top water, and I'm getting action, but nothing like crazy. And then we go bottom bouncing, and a bunch of these like we got sharked, and we're like, "Oh, we gotta move! Like the sharks are here!" And we see these two huge cobia, like that big. And Taj and I are like, we like, we're like, how are we gonna land these things while having like 8 bull sharks just, and they're like rolling on the boat, because like he had something small that was like flapping in the water, and so like they're right there, but these 2 cobia just keep passing, and we're like, we're gonna do this. And so I would take the fish and shake it in the water, and I'm like scared to death of sharks, but at this point you're like, we're gonna land a cobia somehow. And he drops bait right in front of it. He rears back to try to just like get it in the boat. It snaps, and then we thought it snapped the rod, but it was the braid up by it, so it made a loud noise. And we're just like, oh, what are we, like, we're re-rigging. We throw the bigger rig down there, and meanwhile, like, as these cobia are making this pass on the small fish, the big sharks are like coming to the boat and like rolling off, and you're like I don't know why, but I'm like leaning over the side of the boat, like it was crazy. And so meanwhile, he drops it in. He hooks this cobia, and now we're just like pulling it away from these sharks that are like rolling on us, and then we're trying to gaff it, and so we're just like trying to gaff it, and I gaffed it, and then it came off, and that just creates like so much chaos. And then we landed it, and then we also got the other one, and that by far was like the top. Like we were like giggling like schoolboys. We're like high five, we're like, and that was like, okay, the cortisol level just peaked right there. And the crazy thing is, like, a shark breached right next to the boat and was like spinning, and whatever it hit like was in half, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like don't fall, don't fall in the water. And then another fishing was yesterday. That was that drift that we had. It was right on the bite, and we were shirtless, just sweating, fish in on the deck. They were sliding and going into our ankles, but we were like not gonna stop until we backed out. And that was just constant action, and it was like teamwork. Like we were on all 3 hooked up several times. Sick. Like we were just like, get into the boat. What is it? Is it color? And it's just like the excitement was unreal.
So good.
So yeah, fishing Australia has been top tier fishing by far. Like I can see why people would come here for that.
Yeah, it's sick. I want to pivot a little bit, but stay on the same thing. We were talking yesterday or the day before about, like in Florida, all the iguanas and like the snakes and stuff. Yes. Do you have any stories about them?
Oh man, I always said Florida's the Australia of the United States, and I don't stand corrected. Like I still abide by that after being here. Yeah, you guys have a lot of different poisonous things, but out of America, Florida is very much wild. And I have been around a lot of alligators, and in stupid ways. Like I'll be in ditches up to my knees or waist, just bass fishing, and I've seen like a 12-foot gator just like cruise by, like almost could touch it with the end of my fishing pole. And that's when you're like, oh, I should get out of the water, or I should be more aware of my environment.
Do they grab many people over there?
They will, yeah. We have like crazy stories of like criminals running away and hiding in water and getting eaten by alligators. Sure. You're like, karma. But and then our iguanas, we get big iguanas. Where I live, they're smaller, but I've taught my dogs to hunt them, so I shoot them out of the trees and let my dogs finish them off. And then we have hogs too. I've been attacked by a hog. My friend shot this hog with an arrow and missed it, and it came at me and grabbed me by my foot. And
do you have tusks on them over there?
Yeah, they got the tusk, and they get big, but we do that. And then when I was a kid, I used to jump the fences and go fish the golf courses for bass, and they would stock the ponds. So 40 minutes before dusk, no one would be golfing. And if you're respectful to the people closing down the golf courses, they would let you fish. And you kind of knew them, and hey, I'll be gone. I'm returning all the fish. I'm not eating them. And those would be slay days, because there's so many bass. They would just top water. That's how I fell in love with top water. Was the lily pads bouncing a fly across, and then boom, and they put that smack daddy hit on it. But with the gators, I made this I made a dowel rod, and I made a big plug and made my own lures, and I didn't put hooks on them. And I used to throw them over the gators and catch gators with them. And I would sometimes get them like I would be fighting these gators at these golf courses, and they would like get right up to the bank, and as soon as I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like a 13-year-old like pulling in these gators, and they wouldn't let go. But you know, whenever they were done, they would just open their mouth and the lure would fly out, and that would be like a missile coming at you. So you always had to be aware of get knocked out and get eaten by a gator. That'd be a way to go. But yeah, I would get them like to the bank, and then they would release it, and that was like one of my favorite hobbies when the fish weren't biting. And like I had this one like log that I painted like yellow and blue, and it had just like teeth mark like through it, like it's like. So that's what I used to do in Florida, catch it. But pythons, I've yet to hunt and catch pythons. But that's a big thing going on in Florida right now. Is they get huge, like 17 foot, which is a lot of meters for y'all. But yeah, Florida's wild.
So do you eat all of those though?
Yeah, you can eat gator, but you have to have like a permit.
Are they protected or?
No, you just have. They're like licensed to hunt.
Yeah, right.
But I've never done it, so I don't know a lot about it. I could be wrong, but I know people do eat them. And then pythons, yeah, you skin them and eat them, and a lot of people use their hides. And iguanas, people are starting to eat.
Yeah.
So you can. I'm sure it's like you know, it's like you can. Is it good? Who knows?
Yeah.
But you gotta try it.
Yeah, yeah, you gotta try.
Yeah, a little more.
Well, yeah.
But
So where's next, bro? You heading to New Zealand?
New Zealand's next for me. Yep, I've just been using social media to get connected to people, and honestly, I was just gonna stop by and see y'all here, Taj here, and bop down to New Zealand, and like the ticket was like the cheapest was like 3 weeks here, and he was like, yeah, you're fine staying here. So this was just gonna be a quick stop to get to New Zealand, because the reason I wanted to travel New Zealand, it's a lot smaller, and so if I'm like gonna backpack and wander, it feels easier, you know, more. Because Australia is huge, and so that's why originally I was like, I'm gonna go to New Zealand.
I'll give you some info after this. We've got like a van person that can probably hook you up over there.
Yeah, that'd be fun. And yeah, it's one thing that's cool about traveling is meeting all these people. Like
The best part, bro.
it's so great. And but it's sad because like I'm gonna go back to a town where I don't know like anyone, and you're like sitting and you're like, man. I've been here for 2 weeks, and I feel like I have more community in Karratha than like anywhere else. And you're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Like
Australia's like that, but the small country towns are big like that. And like Taj is like, he's a real good bloke, and he's got a lot of mates. So
yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful. It's been great. Like you never know when you like sign up to spend 3 weeks with someone that you met in Iceland, and then you've only known for like 2 weeks, because he came to Florida for 2 weeks and hung out with us, and it's like it's been 2 years though, but you're like 3 weeks to sign up to be with someone. I was so nervous, and I was like, we just have been hitting it off over it, and he's making jokes about like, man, I don't want you to leave, but Desi's getting jealous of us, you know. It's like because we are like constantly planning on an adventure after just like walking around chasing mud crabs to, you know, going crabbing and all that stuff. So it's a great, like, he's a great bloke to know.
He's
And
good, bro.
the people that he's connected to are great people. Like, that's how we got connected. And everyone, like, even Stu, like, great, fun guy to hang out with for a day. And you're like, I wish we were.
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah.
There's no, like, tension. It's just easy.
And I feel like that's total shift in conversation. But I feel like that's something that I appreciate, at least, and people in the Pilbara, is, you guys aren't so like caught up in like politics or like these weird identities. It's just like you all kind of come together and have these similar hobbies, and it's like who you are and how you are is the important aspect. And I feel like in America right now we have like this like great divide being pushed of like it's just harder to connect because people are so emotional about their certain little things. And I have found that like being in Australia, you guys just kind of like let people be, and you don't give a rip how I am. If I'm a decent person and enjoyable to be around, it doesn't feel like people are like, yeah, like putting you in these little subclasses. And I've noticed that with, at least, I'm sure in the cities in Australia, it's very different. But at least being here in this town, it's been easy to connect, and like the connection has felt very like safe and authentic. And I think that's what I really, really appreciate about being in this specific town.
Yeah, country's good. Pretty much if you're in the country and you're like an outsider, all people, like, and this is a very generic statement, but it is true. All people want is that you can take a bit of shit and give a bit of shit.
Yeah.
Like, if you can take a joke, because no one really means it.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it doesn't have to be mean, but just like, you know, hang shit on each other.
Yeah.
Like, if you can do that and then give a bit back, like, pretty much respect is earned.
Yeah. I've noticed that. And like,
if someone says something to you, you're like, oh, fuck, blah, blah, it's like, oh, I don't really mean, I'm just joking around. And you're like an American, you know, you're different to everyone else here. So people are going to say, like, stuff.
What are they saying about me? I ain't got anything to say. Okay. Nathan is. Yeah, I totally
pretty much
agree.
it.
But it is very true. Like in America, the sensitivity level is too high right now, and especially in like cities, it's like, yo, we should be able to like zing each other. And I agree. Like Stu, I knew for freaking like a couple hours, and we're like zinging each other, just like, I'm like, you gotta put your purse down. And he's like, you gotta not jig it like you're weak wristed. And I'm like, it's like, and it's just like instantly there's like a connection because you get to just,
Yeah, you're just joking.
yeah,
It
it's
doesn't
like,
mean anything.
and you're not, the skin feels thick. It could be all the sun here that makes y'all a bit skin thick, but
Bit dull.
yeah. Thick heads, thick skin, it's fun. My people.
I heard this like bloke from Ireland the other day saying like, I love Australians. They're so easygoing because their brains are so cooked from the sun they're in all the time.
Yeah, I'm Floridian. We're almost there. Like, people keep asking me, like, how are you dealing with the heat? I'm like, it's the same. We just don't go camping when it's 100 degrees like you guys do. But yeah,
Since you got here, it's been nice. Like
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, it was hot, bro.
yeah, that's what I've noticed. And like, even like the locals here are like, it's a bit hot out today. And I'm like,
It's not.
It's normal, yeah, for me, because Florida, I think it gets hotter here. Well, I think the sun is harsher here. But
Yeah.
where I'm from in Florida, like, dude, I'll deal with heat all day long rather than cold.
Yeah, you don't wear sunscreen much back home. Yeah, here you like you gotta wear it.
I
Yeah.
haven't. But I have had to do my lips.
Yeah.
But even home, like, I haven't put on sunscreen since I've been here. But like I said, it's like yesterday we were fishing all day shirtless, but he had an overhang, but still, like, I also don't think I'm like, yeah, I'm like twice as dark as you. I'm a Florida boy coming in. But yeah, I think it's because, but man, I can't imagine like a northerner from the US coming here.
Yeah.
But like being from Florida, we say the same things. Like Desi was like, don't get burnt on your first few days here. And like we say the same thing. Like people visit Florida and get cooked and have a miserable time. Like they're on planes like, oh, you know, like you're a visitor, you know. So I think the sun and weather here has been.
The sun's harsh because we're missing like the ozone layer and that. Like it cooks you.
Yeah, and sunnies are needed here for sure.
Glare,
Yeah, I've yet to go anywhere without sunglasses, but yeah, it's harsh. But
Well, bro, is there anything you want to talk about or finish on?
nah, Australia's awesome. 10 out of 10 experience. Love it. Give me a follow on TraveVlogUpdate, and you'll see us one day.
Yeah, in America,
Yeah,
Florida.
yeah, dude.
I want to come to the Keys. I've talked to a few people about going over there, and yeah.
The Keys are great. I've only fished down there twice, but it seems amazing. It's very different. Like the water doesn't get deep; it just stays shallow. So
Yeah.
a lot of people go there for mini season, which is our lobster season, because
I've seen that. Yeah, you can pluck them.
I've always tried to get friends. Like I have friends who go down there, and I'm like, please, like, because I'm scared of the water or going in the ocean, like diving. But I think that would be the one time I would be like fine when like everyone's out and you're only in like 3 meters deep of water and you're diving down, and they do the hookah machines where it's like the motor and you know pumps oxygen. Yeah. I'm like, that would be fun for me because you don't need it. You can just, if like it malfunctions, you just come up, but you can also stay down. I was like, that would be top tier. And that's kind of when I went diving for the first time, or free diving for the first time here. I told Taj, I'm like, I want to be by a structure and I want to be able to see the ground. And that's when I got I smoked 2 Morwong. It's pretty cool. Taking 2 shots and I headshotted both of them.
Dead on.
So. I used to shoot competitively, which you guys don't do here, I guess. That's my sport.
Yeah, leisurely in the backyard.
Yeah, no, I was like on a team, but yeah.
Sweet, bro. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, for
Fucking
sure.
legend. We've got a few more days of fun. These boys are heading out to go camping on the islands, I think. I'm having a couple of rest days because I've been fishing the last 4 days straight, but we will probably catch up for another day or two, I reckon, on the crabs.
And then I love crabs. That was the first time I went crabbing. He let us have them all, but we tore them up. It was so good. It's like
Next time we'll get heaps more, I reckon.
well, you do crawfish boils down in the South, down in Louisiana. You do the crawfish boils, and I feel like the crab in here, like that would be so fun to do, like a big crab boil.
If we go out again, let's do that.
Yeah, I'm so down.
Sure.
And also, you're invited to my birthday party. It's Sunday. We're gonna go out on the boat. Probably we might go crabbing, and then we're gonna have burgers. So
Sick.
I think that's what we're planning. So
Let's get it, eh?
you guys can come too.
Yeah. All right, another episode of Fish Tank. Thanks for watching.
Oh
See ya.
yeah.